Okay. So I used to listen to people speak about aid, and the way they spoke um, about aid was that it does more harm than it does good. From a distance, it sort of looked like an insult, like you don't know what these people are going through and so forth. But looking at it now, I think the people that we were referred to as becoming lenient or lax, those were the governments of those countries, not the citizens. The governments will just wait for aid, right? So they don't have to make plans or, to somehow better their society. And aid, I think, should come in all of its diverse forms. For example, human aid. You know, in this country we have a lot of peace corps, and there was a time when there was a really big influx. And what would happen is people would welcome them into their homes, have somewhere to stay, and they were guests. They were treated well, and after that they went out to teach in schools, or some of them are in remote rural areas where they teach. Um, but that is skill building. So what I said explained itself. Instead of money, um, aid in the form of adding to the value of human capital should be priority. This is what China did, and they might have done it cheaper um, than most other countries due to their advantage of numbers. Um, but they got it right. Now they are the second largest economy in the world. Everybody's surprised, like this won't last, no communist party and all of that stuff. And China is in transition. I don't know if most people know that, but China is in transition. There are people there that also experienced a gruesome war. They experienced horrible dictatorship, and the history sort of lingers, and that's why they have to have a central pillar which they believe is their guiding force. um, Although there are a lot who are going against this, and now China would send out people to look for projects, and then they would negotiate with governments. After negotiating, they would say our own people's contractors will be in charge of this, basically because they don't believe nor do they trust the local native people's skills. And that's simple. It's from the question of, well, why didn't they do it themselves then? So they think they have an advantage in that. And that sort of trade negotiation where it's us or nobody seems to be an ultimatum, but it's not anymore. And why I'm saying it's not an ultimatum anymore, simple observation. A lot of people in China knew about the elections in America. Why? How? They had their opinions, but the fact of the matter is that, like I said before, technology and that inclusivity, everyone will find some way to break through a wall, be it a physical wall or cyber wall. They'll try and find a way. So it's better to have the well regulated and then let some people or people through, let them decide if they want, if that's what they want or if that's not what they want. But it's a communist country, I understand that, but it's a good example of how human capital is more valuable than, you know, the supposed resources that our continent has. And I said last night, it's better to have a project when you have, people on certain things, and you can negotiate better, right? It starts to improve. Um, so that's a long-term plan, but basically, I think Africa thrives from not having direct aid, and that's why I applaud the Bill and Melinda Foundation, because they are more like ground ground soldiers. They they're almost like peace corps. They go there, they look, they see, they try to understand, and then they facilitate by empowering the people through knowledge, um, information, what they should know, how they can do this better, how they can do that better. Empowering those people like that makes them more productive because they are yielding the results of their labor. um, and that's why I was kind of like charities and foundations. I think foundations work better than charities, and people shouldn't confuse foundations with charities. They're slightly different. uh, so I'm glad this day went well. um, we were heard, and you know young men, our young troops, our young teams, and even the older teams are beginning to navigate around this whole sense of African inferiority. And basically, most of the world is racist against Africa, if I have to put it bluntly. The climate trade agreement, one of the things that concern me is, the investment supposedly for, invest in Africa. Why not rather, design initiatives that encourage the people as well as making these? I mean, I know I used to, I was surprised, when I found out that there were women in India, in rural India, uneducated and just taught by a man who educates people from a who are illiterate basically, and that's how he has his university. He mostly accept people that are extremely disadvantaged when it comes to knowledge and execution. And these women were able to build solar panels and a lot of engineering feats. So if they could teach them there, why can't they teach them here? Why is it looking like an import possibility, import or buying of solars, as opposed to making them on the ground? Um, you know, there are a lot of countries, and a lot of countries can pull their weight because that will benefit them in the long run. And it's happening already, solar is being used a lot. There are small solar farms I've seen, but not at the rate or pace as those who have bigger budgets to work with. And that's one of the unfair things of aid. Aid goes to the most populated areas because they seem the most vulnerable. or conflict areas, while in actuality it it should depend on the gains that can be made and over what period, selectively tasking people, as opposed to speaking about, you know, the different levels of uh, resource disadvantage that a lot of people have. And I'm talking about, you know, research is in the head, because practical terms work, and you know, deploying teachers of different kinds, that will also work. And yeah, there's another barrier to this that I wanted to discuss when it comes to those things. I guess we'll do that later. Have a great weekend.